Hi guys, welcome to Strength Reversed. My name is Amy. Thank you so much for joining me today, and a special hello if you are a new subscriber. I'm going to do something a little different today. I know a lot of people do monthly, what I've been up to kind of videos, but monthly is too much for me. So I'm going to try doing a quarterly catch-up where you can see what I've been up to with tarot and other things. And if you're bored, maybe it'll give you some ideas of something to read or something to watch. I cannot believe the first quarter of 2020 has come and gone already. April flew by. May is also flying by. I can't believe how fast it's going. I will start with tarot. This year, Jason, my friend Jason, gifted me the Light Seers Tarot, and I am in love with it. I love bright, bold colors, and this one certainly has bright, bold colors. They're just beautiful. I love the cards. They're nice and thick and creamy and buttery, and I love them. So I've been really surprised at how easy it has been to get to know this deck, and I've used it for my daily draws almost exclusively in April and also a lot in March. Now, Jason just started a brand new YouTube channel, Readings with Jason. So check out his YouTube channel. I will link it below and tell him I said hi. Tell him Amy sent you. So there's that. That was exciting. Now I started out the year with the 31 Days of Tarot Challenge that's hosted by Bethany. It's the second year that I've done it. And it was no easier the second time to film 31 videos. I'm not a batch person. I kind of do my videos one at a time. So it was a challenge and I loved it. After that, I moved on to some Instagram challenges, and Michael gifted me this set of chakra journals, and I took the root chakra journal and I'm doing my Instagram challenges for this year in it. The first one I did in February was called the February 2-card challenge or 2-card tarot challenge. It was hosted by Avalon Tarot. If you are looking for something to do with tarot or maybe a little daily exercise, you can do these challenges anytime. So just go to their Instagram and they will have some posts about this challenge. I really liked this challenge. You pulled 2 cards every day and it was a different prompt every day, and the prompts were really meaningful. I'm kind of picky about the challenges that I do. And I really liked all these prompts. They were very insightful. So I would just write down the cards that I got and then do a little journal entry based on them every day. In March, I did the March to Success, which was hosted by Rosemary from Good Journeys Tarot. Check out her channel. I will also link her below. I love Rosemary, and her March to Success gave me a lot of good things to think about. Now, after 3 months of challenges, what I wrote down on in my spiritual planner for April on my April goals was no challenges. So I did not do any challenges in April, but I am going to be doing a challenge in May. There was another YouTube challenge in February, and it was the 29 spreads in 29 days that was hosted by Dee from Divination and also by Yvette, who's the Witch of Willow Creek. And where's my book? Oh, here it is. I of course didn't do 29 spreads, but I did do about 4 spreads. And they are all available. I have videos on all of these spreads, and they are all available also on my Instagram if you want to see a picture of the spread. The first one, so these were all from February, was the Oh My God, You're Annoying spread. Apparently someone was under my skin in February, and so I decided to pull some cards about it and made a spread. Now, I incorporated toilet paper into this spread. Yes, I did. And you can see you need a square of toilet paper. This was before toilet paper was like a hot commodity and there was a national toilet paper shortage, which I didn't foresee, even though I read tarot cards, did not foresee the toilet paper shortage. But if you want to use just some other paper or Post-it or something, you don't have to use toilet paper. One of the other spreads I did, actually what prompted me to do that was receiving the Light Seers deck, was the accepting gifts spread. I find that sometimes I have trouble accepting gifts or even compliments without feeling guilty about it. And I decided to go deeper and find out what was with that. And so I really liked this little spread. There are only 4 cards, but it was really useful to me. And then also in February, I did the baby steps spread. And it's about acknowledging yourself and embracing uncertainty and kind of, you know, not all progress is the huge, you know, life-changing momentous moment. Sometimes it's very subtle and very tiny, and you have to acknowledge and celebrate the small steps, the little victories. And then after quarantine started, this must have been in March, I made a spread called the Outer Edges spread about energetic distancing, because I felt like people's triggers were magnified and we were really feeling our outer edges and working through a lot of things, and our energy was kind of, we were being tested a little bit. So that spread was also very helpful. So check out my Instagram if you want to see those, or they're on my channel somewhere. Maybe I'll try to link, or cards or whatever. You know, the cards I could take or leave. The next thing I want to share with you, because I want to congratulate myself, is my yoga practice. I don't do any formal classes in yoga, but I do yoga pretty regularly on my own. My favorite channel is Sarah Beth Yoga. I really like her channel. And I decided at the beginning of 2020 that one of my goals was going to be to work on some arm balances and incorporate them into my practice, because they are pretty challenging. So in January, I started with Baby Crow. And by the end of January, I kind of had gotten it for the most part. So I was really encouraged by that. And I moved on to Crow. And that's been more of an ongoing process. And I'm to the point now where I can stay in Crow for like 2 or 3 seconds without falling on my face. But what it has taught me is really to work at something little by little, and, you know, feeling the satisfaction of seeing improvement in something that I've been working toward, and also to approach things in a more playful way. And, you know, it's been a little bit frustrating because every time I feel like I'm approaching a milestone, I find out that there's like a different version of the pose that's even more advanced. Like, wait a minute, I thought this was Crow. No, you gotta straighten your legs and, you know, anyway. What I have liked about Sarah Beth's channel is that she reminds you during these difficult poses that any version of the pose is the pose. You're not doing some sort of lesser version. You're still getting all of the benefits, even if you don't lift your feet up off the floor, or, you know, you're not straightening your legs yet, that any version of the pose is the pose. And so I'm learning a little by little to be a little easier on myself. I am working on knitting a tarot bag, and I will make a video about that. I've been working on it for quite a while, which I tend to pick up knitting projects and then put them down for a long time and pick them up again. But it's going to be a bag for my Light Seers deck, and it's in progress, so I will make a video showing you how I made it. It's going to have little owls cabled into it, so it's exciting. I've read of course, quite a few books, and I'm not going to tell you about all of the tarot books that I've consulted here and there, but there were a couple that I acquired the first quarter of the year. One of them I acquired from my local independent bookstore, and it's called Teach Yourself Fortune Telling, and it's by Rachel Pollack. That's interesting. Palmistry, the crystal ball, runes, tea leaves, and the tarot. I was mostly interested in tea leaves and palmistry, and I like that it's thin and it's to the point, and it's just a kind of overview of these things, and I can read it in sections, and so I've read a couple sections of this, and I have liked it. Of course, she's so knowledgeable. And the other book that I got was by Tabitha Dial, and it's called Creative Divination. Now, Tabitha Dial, if you don't know her, she does have a YouTube channel. I don't think she posts very often, but she posts on an Instagram channel, and she is a tea leaf reader. That's what she does mostly. So this is not an informational book exactly. It is a workbook, and it's a lot of practice reading. So you'll have a practice scenario, and here's your teacup where you would draw the symbols that you see and talk about what those mean to you. The subtitle is Develop Your Personal Code. So these are intuitive exercises to develop your relationship with different symbols that you might encounter during divination. So it's kind of building your intuition. Now, this book I got from Michael. It was a Christmas gift, I think. And Michael does things like this. If we walk through a store and I'm like, oh, that's cute, it will wind up wrapped and given to me as a gift at some point. And this book I really like. It is called Less Stuff. At the beginning of 2020, I talked about one of my goals being to declutter in lots of different areas of my life and to focus on decluttering as a spiritual practice. And this is a really pretty book. It's very simple. It has short little sections like selling things or, your closet or the dining room. And she talks a lot about decluttering, like things that you are attached to because of nostalgia or someone you love gave it to you, or things that you might have trouble letting go of. And there's a chapter on paper clutter, which I struggle with. I am rereading Harry Potter #1, The Sorcerer's Stone, with my son. My son is finally into Harry Potter. Thank goodness. And so we've finished book 1, and we are on to book 2 now. So that is exciting. We read a little bit every night before bed. And I really look forward to that ritual. It's one of my favorite times of the day. As far as fiction, I have a little lending library near my house, and it's just one of those little boxes on a post, and you can take a book or leave a book when you're done. And I really like getting fiction from there because it's on the way home, and I do better picking books when my choices are limited. Because if I go to the library, for example, there are so many options that I just will end up not picking. And so this way my options are it's more manageable. This is one of the books that I got out of the library. It's called Use Me, and it is by Alyssa Chappell. This is a series of 10 connected short stories, and the protagonist's name is Evie, and it's just her experience growing up as a woman, through adolescence, and her relationship with her dad, and then how that changed when she was in college, and then getting married, and her father dying, and her being a mom who is not so together. She's definitely a flawed character, but I think a lot of women could see little pieces of themselves in her. So it was really well written, and I enjoyed it. One of the other books I got at the lending library was, oh gosh, what was it called? I wrote it down. Oh, Sick Puppy by Carl Hiaasen. Now, Carl Hiaasen writes a lot of young adult novels like Hoot and Flush, and those are pretty well known. This novel, I read maybe 50 to 75 pages, the first few chapters, and then it went back to the lending library. I didn't really feel like the characterization was very strong. The protagonist, I think, was supposed to be quirky and funny, and to me, he was just annoying and stupid. The conflict didn't really, speak to me. And so I didn't really like any of the characters. And if it were a shorter book, I probably would have stuck with it, but it was pretty hefty. And so I put that back. It didn't do it for me. I did reread a little novella called Seed Folks, and I was going to do this with my class online, but many of my students had already read it last year, and so I didn't do it, but I did enjoy rereading it. You could read it in 1 or 2 sittings. It's one of those novels where every chapter is told by a different character, and every character is a different ethnicity, a different nationality. They just have different backgrounds and experiences, but they also have something in common where they all live in this apartment complex or near the apartment complex in a big city. And it starts out with one young girl planting a seed in this abandoned lot that's full of junk and garbage and stuff. And someone sees her and wonders what she's doing, and so they go check it out, and they end up clearing a little bit more, and then someone else plants something, and by the end they have this big community garden, and they've really gotten to know each other and had to work together, and they got to know people they wouldn't normally get to know. And so I thought it was a perfect novel for what's going on now. It would have been a really nice novel to read, but they already read it. Maybe next year I'll read it with my class. Michael and I like to read a lot of books together, and one of the books that we got about halfway through, is called Sex with Kings, and this is by Eleanor Herman. It is nonfiction. She also has a Sex with Queens, and it is just, the subtitle is 500 Years of Adultery, Power, Rivalry, and Revenge. You can't beat that. It's basically about the sex lives of European monarchs, through the ages, from the Louis to modern day scandals. Basically, in a nutshell, they married for duty and had mistresses for love and passion, and everybody smelled really bad. It's an interesting read, but we didn't really like how it was organized. We would have liked to have a more personal story for each monarch, but it was kind of disjointed. It jumped around from king to king to king and back again. So it would talk about the wife, and then it would talk about the mistress, and 50 pages later. And so it was kind of hard to get a complete picture of each monarch's sex life. And don't we all want to know about that? The book that we just started is Erik Larson's new book called The Splendid and the Vile, and this is nonfiction. I love Erik Larson. His books are all nonfiction, but they read like novels. They're just very interesting and so well written and so well researched. This is a saga of Churchill, family, and defiance during the Blitz. So it's Churchill as a new prime minister and during World War II. We've read lots of his novels. I really love Deadweight. I really loved Isaac Storm. They're all so good. And we're just now getting into this one, but it's already very interesting. So I'm a TV person. And I really like watching documentaries or limited series. I don't like so much as much series that go on and on and on. But a few of the things that I've watched that I've really liked well, in February I watched McMillions. And if you haven't seen McMillions, this one's kind of humorous. It is about the McDonald's Monopoly game and how it was fixed for quite a while. And someone was actually cheating. And the FBI got involved and took down this guy who was cheating in the Monopoly game. So there were no legitimate winners for quite a while of the big prizes, at least. People, when you play that game, you might win a small fry or a small Coke or something, and you're like, oh, whoop-de-doo. That's because it was fixed. So that's a good one. Now, it could have been tightened up, but all of those documentary series could be tightened up, right? It's 6 episodes, and it really could have been probably 3. We also watched season 10 of Curb Your Enthusiasm, where Larry creates the Spite store, the Spite coffee shop, to spite the other coffee shop owner. So that was a really good season. I started watching Sanditon because I saw this on Juliet Peekaboo Rose. She talked in one of her roundups about watching Sanditon, and this is the PBS miniseries based on Jane Austen's last unfinished novel, and I never finished it. So I watched 3 or 4 episodes, and then Tiger King happened. So I just never went back to Sanditon, and it's not calling me. It was good, but my interest waned a little bit. So Tiger King, I don't know what to say, but you either love it or hate it, and I'm going to be Carol Baskin for Halloween. I don't care what anyone says. If you haven't seen Tiger King, you probably don't understand the internet right now. Try one episode. It's a hot mess. It's gloriously hideous. I don't know what else to say. Michael thought it was hysterical. I mostly sat there aghast. Tiger King. Okay. So all you cool cats and kittens, go find a Netflix right now and watch Tiger King. One thing I enjoyed was Little Fires Everywhere, and this was a novel by Celeste Ng. I'm sure it's better as a novel. They all are always better as a novel. But I did enjoy and look forward to each episode coming out. I don't know. Somebody tell me if I should go ahead and read the novel. I didn't really love any of the characters. They were developed very well. But I almost don't want to read the novel because I didn't like anybody in the story. The story itself was fantastic, but all of these characters, and what makes them really good is that they are flawed. And I thought they were all pretty much assholes. So, I don't know if I want to read about them. I really looked forward to each episode, but it's done and I'm kind of relieved now. One other thing that I saw was a documentary series called No One Saw a Thing. And this is about a famous murder case where a small town in Missouri, I think, killed the town bully. And everyone kind of knew who did it, but no one would say who did it for decades and decades. And just nothing was ever done because they were happy to be rid of this bully. Then they tried to go down this path of how this cursed the town, but I don't really buy that. There have been several other noteworthy murders, well-known murders in that town since then. And really, I think it's just because, meth came to that town. So, yeah, it was interesting, but this was really a case of this could have been a 1-hour show, and I just watched many, many episodes of this. So that really could have been tightened up. I also watched Cold Blooded, which was a documentary based on, it was about the Clutter family murders in Kansas, I think, in 1959. And Truman Capote wrote the novel In Cold Blood about these murders. And then there was a movie in 1967, In Cold Blood, which is very well known. And the movie was shot in the actual house where this family was murdered. And what was different about this documentary is that the family put their 2 cents in about how they felt like this tragedy was exploited, and how Truman Capote really depicted their family members inaccurately. And so it was kind of the only time the family has really spoken out about what happened. And they didn't even want to be on film. A lot of the people who knew that family spoke and out about how they didn't agree about how it was depicted and how that it was sensationalized. But it was interesting. Recently I saw Waco. I think that's on Netflix, but that is a short mini series about, of course, David Koresh and what happened at Waco. And it was based on 2 memoirs, I guess. One was the negotiator for the FBI, and the other one was someone who was in the compound and survived that. And they really were not, they really were sympathetic to the cult members or the people who were in that group, but they did not let anyone off the hook. So they didn't sugarcoat, they didn't gloss over the fact that David Koresh had married 14-year-olds and, was having inappropriate relationships with women who were of an inappropriate age, not women, I guess girls of an inappropriate age. So, anyway, that was interesting. I'm glad it was short and to the point, though. And I've started watching Belgravia, which is a miniseries based on the novel by Julian Fellows. And it is about someone who kind of is in with the in crowd in Belgravia, and there's a big scandal and lots of secrets, and I haven't finished it yet, but I'm enjoying it. And last but not least, I started season 1 of Outlander. Every time I start watching, I'm up till 4 a.m. because I can't stop. And one thing I don't like is that there is a lot of sexual violence in this series, and so I'm not, I don't like that. I think it's slightly romanticized, and I don't like that. But the story is so epic. I love it. So anyway, Outlander. I'm on to season 2 right now. So let me know if you guys have watched any of this, read any of this, what tarot decks you're using right now. I'm off to go knit and read some Harry Potter with my son. So anyway, that's been my 2020 so far. It's flying by. I will post a bunch of links and whatnot. I will post, not links to the books, but I'll post the names of the books in case you're looking for a good book to read. All right, thanks guys.